Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and it's a beautiful day out today. Like, it is bright, it's still like spring, summer, whatever you want to call it. It's like winter is over. Winter is gone. So today, as you can see behind me, we have the BRZ jacked up and the splash guards and whatnot off down here. So we're doing something that I've been wanting to do for a while on the BRZ, and that is going to be tightening up the steering. So if you don't know, the BRZs and the WRXs both come with electronic steering racks, so there's no power steering fluid that pushes the tie rods out to turn the wheels whenever you turn, so it's all electronically done. So I mean, it does remove the fact that you need like a power steering pump and all that stuff, but personally I don't like how like loose the steering is, so we're gonna be fixing that today. So we have some Perrin steering lockdowns and some white line two-piece bushings for the steering rack. Now, it did take me a while. I've had these parts sitting around for a little bit, but I needed a tool that only Cusco made, and I lost because I used to have one and then it disappeared. I had to order another one, had to wait for it to come in. So we have the tool now. I'll show you specifically the tool. I'll show you everything we need to do. So let's hop over to the bench and get out of the sun because this is just blinding the hell out of me. This is kind of everything that we have going on over here, but these are the steering lockdowns. So what these are going to do is they're going to put just a little more rigidity in the steering rack, so that way it gives a little more resistance when driving. It also helps improve driver feedback. Plus these are like nicely machined. Plus they're like nicely machined. There is a set screw on both sides of this for both of these lockdowns. And then we also have these two-piece bushings here. So as you can see, they just kind of like slide out, pop off. So we're going to be sliding these in, but in order to get out the current steering rack bushings, this is the tool that I needed. So as you can see back here, I mean, I have bought this tool before. I also have one for the STI because I do this install on all of my cars because I do like the steering to be a little bit heavier. So we now have the tool. So essentially this is gonna sit over the steering rack. This bolt is gonna go through, and then we're gonna end up tightening it down on that nut right there, and that's gonna end up pushing the bushing out into this cylinder, and then we're able to get it out that way. And I'll show you guys how to do it. Super simple install to do. All we really need here is going to be a 17mm, a 19mm, a 12mm, some grease, and then just a standard ratchet. And you're gonna want a Sharpie or a marker or something. So I've got a plethora up here because we are gonna have to disconnect the rack and pinion from the actual steering rack. So, I mean, if you don't feel comfortable with it, I promise you, it's super simple. So I'm gonna get the G7X set up underneath the car. Like I said, I already have the splash guard and everything pulled off under there, so we can just jump right into this one. But it's an awesome install. It will definitely give you better driver feedback. And I think this is really the last driver feedback mod that we're gonna be doing before we start doing some fun installs on the BRZ. I also ended up replacing that weather stripping that was over here on the door. So no more like peeling vinyl stuff. Super easy to do also if you guys need to do that. So with that, let's jump into it. Let's hop over to the G7X and I will show you guys how to start installing all of these good parts. All right, you guys, so the first thing we're gonna have to do here is here's our steering rack. So we've got a 19mm here, a 19mm here, and then up here on the steering shaft that comes down to it, there's a 12mm. So what we need to do is we need to take our Sharpie and just make a mark on it so we know where exactly we need to realign it after we take it off. So I just made a single black line coming off of it, so when we take that 12mm off, we're gonna know where to put it back. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull off the two 19mm bolts that are holding the steering rack to the subframe here, and then I'm gonna pull off the 12mm that's holding the actual steering shaft to the steering rack. Pull off the two bolts holding the steering rack to the subframe. I need a breaker bar. Hold up. Holy hell! Now after I take this bolt out, the steering rack should be able to, there it goes, it slides down and out. So as you can see now, the steering rack is a little more free so we can move it. So the way we're gonna do this is, let me grab this tool. So the way this tool works is we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna slide that over that, but we're gonna have the collar on it like so. So that way when the bushing comes out, it has a collar to sit on, so it should slide pretty much right over it. Now getting this other bolt through, we need to adjust the length of it accordingly, so that way we can get some thread on the opposite side of this to be able to put this other nut on. Now once we start torquing it down, it is gonna start pressing the bushing out. It is gonna take some force from you guys doing this, so just be prepared. So just be prepared that this is gonna take some force from you guys to be able to get this all the way through, and this can be a little frustrating when you're doing it, especially if it's your first time doing it. So just have some patience. You're gonna see me drop this nut like 100 times. Yep, see? Told you. I'm gonna drop this nut like 100 times. There we go, though. We got it. Okay, so now that we have this tightened down, and it's lined up, we can go ahead and start pressing the bushing out of here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna hold down this side over here, and we're gonna start tightening down this other side that's closest to the steering rack. Now what that's gonna do is it's gonna start sucking the bushing out into this collar. Now once it's sucked out, I'll show you guys what it looks like and how to get it out, but there is a hole in the collar so that way we are able to pull it out. So let's start sucking this bushing out. What do you say? Aha, see? So as you can see right there, the bushing is out and it is now in the collar. So what we need to do is pull off these two bolts that are just gonna be a nightmare. So hold up, there we go. Unthread that all the way. The bushing is now, right there. So this is the OE bushing that just came out. It is rubber solid one piece, and it's a little gummy. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna pull the other bushing out on the driver's side. Once we get that one out, we'll get our new ones inserted in, we'll get them greased up, and we will get them ready to go. So I'm gonna knock that out real quick, and then once we get that done, we'll start putting in the new ones. Go. Oh yes, second bushing is out. Oh, my arm is so tired. So like I said, you guys, this can get frustrating and it can get really annoying when taking these bushings out, but it's really not as bad as you think it is. It's just a lot of, like you saw, wrenching and getting it all out. But second bushing is out, so now we're ready to put the new inserts in. So I'm gonna grab those, I'll bring them down here, we'll grease them up, we'll get them slid in here. We'll get the steering rack ready to be lined back up and bolted back in. And then we'll throw those Perrin lockdowns on, so let's get this thing done. I decided to swap out the batteries on the G7X, so if it just moves slightly, that's why. But we're now ready to put in our two-piece bushing. So the way these work is we're gonna grease them up. One side is gonna slide into the back of the steering rack here. We're gonna put the other front side through, and then we're gonna put the collar in. Once we have both of those in, we're gonna get the steering rack realigned up where it needs to go, and then we're gonna get those Perrin steering lockdown pieces put in. We'll put the bolts in, and then we'll put the set screws in. So I'm gonna get these guys greased up, get them thrown in, and start chooching along on this because I'm getting a little cramped down here. So all we did was get the new bushings pressed in on both sides. I'm gonna swap batteries on this camera again, and then we're gonna start installing these steering rack lockdowns, and then that's gonna be the install. So give me 1 sec, swap batteries, then we'll wrap this up. Okay, so I just swapped over to the EOS R. I didn't really have much of a choice, so I made it fit down here. So if you guys are hearing some like extremely loud audio, it is because I'm using the lapel mic right now. But right now we have our bushings pressed in, as we just said. We're gonna go ahead, we're gonna get these steering lockdown pieces put in place. Now these are side specific. Because we have this guy right here, this piece is gonna have to sit there because it is gonna clear it. Now for this other side, we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna do the passenger side first. We're gonna go ahead and get that steering lockdown put in place right there. Get the bolt ran through, and then we'll start doing the other side, and we'll put the set screws in. They're in. So the set screws are honestly probably the worst part. Pressing out the bushings was not as bad as I thought it would be, but we have the steering rack put back in. The last thing that we need to do while we're down here is tighten up that 12mm that holds the steering shaft together. It didn't actually come apart, so that is good for us. Where did I put the 12mm? There we go. We're done. I'm gonna get the camera moved out of here. We're gonna get the splash guard and the under tray put back on, and then we'll hop in the car. We'll play with the steering wheel a little bit, and I'll show you guys just a little more resistance that you get out of it. And you also get a little more driver feedback too, which you guys know I'm all about. So I'm gonna get this thing knocked out, get the splash guard and everything put back on, then we'll get the car put back on the ground. Alright you guys, so we just got the BRZ back on the ground as you saw. Now overall the steering in the car does feel a lot better, so hold up. Apologies for the car being a little loud, but it feels heavier, and it's what I like out of a car. So if you do want a heavier steering feel out of an electronic steering rack, swapping out these bushings and putting in like braces and inserts like this is gonna give you a stronger feel out of the steering wheel. So it's gonna give you a little bit more feedback from imperfections in the road, kind of the turning aspect of the car and how everything feels. So I mean, super easy install to do. It's super cheap too. Those bushings and those braces, I think were about $100 total, just for improved steering feel. And we have gone through, and I think we've actually done everything for driver feedback mods at this point on the BRZ. So I think we can actually start getting to doing some fun installs on the BRZ now, such as like wheels, coilovers, that kind of stuff, body panels, making it look how we want it to look. I didn't record it, but I also ended up doing the transmission mount inserts also. I mean, I did record it, but I didn't like the way the video came out, so I never posted it. But I mean, overall, the transmission also feels a lot better with those brace inserts in there. I'll link those below if anyone is curious on the ones that I used, but it makes the transmission feel just 1,000 times better. It feels so much more crisp and clean. Originally, when I didn't have the mounts in the car, it felt like it didn't want to go into first and second gear when it was cold. And then after doing this, it kind of stiffened it up a little bit more, and it made it a lot easier to get into first and second gear when the car was warming up and when it was a little bit cold. But overall, steering rack stuff, well worth it. But like I said, you guys, super awesome, well worth it mod if you are looking to do it on your car as well. I also ordered all the exhaust gaskets for the STI last night, so that way when we get our manifolds, up pipes, and turbo in, we have all the gaskets. Girlfriend's washing her car too. We are a Subaru family, so she has a Subaru also. She has a 17 Impreza. She's kind of shy to be on camera though, so I'm not gonna go bug her with the camera. But overall, I mean, you guys know what to do. If you guys like the video, go ahead, smash that like button. If you haven't already, if you're not subscribed to the channel and you want to be, we'll put it in one of these corners. Don't know which one quite yet. I think I'm also going to start doing a little more vlog style videos coming up also. Just getting out into the world, getting away from the garage a little bit more, and just incorporating other things that I do in my life. They're still car related, they're still STI and BRZ related, but I think it'd be a little more fun just to get to know you guys a little bit more and for you guys to get to know me a little bit more, just because we do spend a lot of time here together. So I mean, with that, that's going to wrap this up. Like I said, if you're not already subscribed to the channel and you want to be, I'll pick one of these corners. And with that, I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out, homies. Woo!